Welcome back. We're continuing the news. 14 deaths were recorded from COVID-19 on Tuesday. 7 were from Manchester, 4 from Westmoreland, and 3 from St. James. 1 was previously under investigation. The COVID-19 death toll is now 892. 93 new cases of COVID-19 were confirmed on Tuesday. The country's overall case count is now 47,572. The country's COVID-19 positivity rate now stands at 13.8%. In the meantime, 152 persons are hospitalized with the respiratory illness. 16 are critically ill. There are now 22,793 active cases. The debate continues over whether the country should close its borders to countries with deadly variants of the coronavirus. The issue was discussed on Power 106's morning agenda this morning. Codian Barrett reports.
As more variants of the coronavirus are formed, countries around the globe are pulling all the stops to safeguard their shores from major outbreaks. Here in Jamaica, the Medical Association of Jamaica, MAJ, is suggesting that closing the borders to countries that have highly contagious COVID-19 variants is not the answer. Instead, adhering to strict protocols will help slow down the spread of the virus locally. It's also a position supported by President of the Jamaica Tourist Board, Clifton Reeder.
The fact that we have protocols and we have seen results from those protocols, we basically believe in our protocols from mask wearing, physical distancing, washing of hands, sanitization.
Mr. Reeder revealed data showing that the positivity rate for visitors has declined significantly.
Guests who have stayed in hotels and other accommodations. And we found out that the positivity rate for those guests was basically less than 1%.
Meanwhile, medical practitioner at the Windsor Wellness Center, Dr. Alfred Dawes, wants the government to scrap the 14 days quarantine order.
We need a coherent, cohesive protocol that will govern entry into Jamaica. And it cannot be that you have 14 days for locals and do as you will for foreigners.
He's therefore calling for adjustments to the period.
It's either you're going to go through a quarantine period or you're going to have negative tests to show that you are clear to go after a reasonable time period, maybe 3 or 4 days. This is what obtains in the British Virgin Islands, where you test before you reach, you test on arrival, and then there's another test on day 4, and then you're free to go.
There are now more than 2,000 confirmed cases of the Indian variant of COVID-19 in the UK. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says his government is anxious about the spread as the number of cases there have doubled within a week. Codian Barrett, TVJ News.
What about us? Cries from residents of West End in the Grill after being without water for the past 2 weeks. According to residents, the area has been plagued with chronic water problems. As Codian Barrett reports, they insist preferential treatment is given to hoteliers.
Water wasting, but in the pipes of several residents of West End in the Grill, it's dry.
Last week, there was no water from Friday right through to, I believe it was Tuesday afternoon, there was a little trickle. And then that trickle continued into Wednesday. And then by Thursday, the water was gone again.
While we are suffering for water, there is water flowing from the mains that are not attended to by the NWC.
And there are concerns about inequalities in the distribution of trucked water.
The residents watch these trucks drive to the hotels. And for us on the West End, we don't even see the trucks because we're at the end with no consideration. But there's one thing that is sure, at the end of the month, that bill is coming.
In response, the acting corporate public relations officer at the NWC, Delano Williams, says there is a valve issue along the network, which has since been corrected.
While we understand that our system was still partially operational, a number of persons in the elevated areas would have felt the impact more, but our efforts would have been thwarted by the extensive distance covered by the pipeline from West End going back towards Logwood
He also acknowledged the broken main that supplies residents in Negril with water.
We recognize there is still another section close to our pumping station that has a major leak, and that will require a shutdown on Tuesday, May 18, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. To complete this pipeline repair.
Codian Barrett, TVJ News.
The government is expecting over 200 businesses to utilize the e-commerce National Delivery Service ENS program this weekend. Speaking at the post-cabinet press briefing this morning, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of National Security, Matthew Samuda, said companies have increased their efforts to provide excellent services to their customers.
We're now at the stage where I can report that we have applications from businesses in every single parish in Jamaica. We expect to have up to 248 businesses using the ENS platform this weekend, and that is evenly spread right across the country. Persons who are also visiting the website would notice that several upgrades have been done by eGov in recent weeks, and the platform is much more user-friendly.
He described the project as, quote, a silver lining around a dark cloud which has moved some small and medium businesses into the 21st century.
We experience the likes of small restaurants and pan-chicken businesses looking to the internet to bolster their business. We are also seeing a boom in the number of companies who are offering an end-to-end payment solution. Some of these companies have gone as far as tackling logistics of delivery, which augurs well for the future of the delivery economy and puts into sharp focus what we can achieve as a country in a very short time if we are properly motivated with the right policies.
And for the latest in the financial world, here's Codian Barrett with the Business Minute.
On the business scene, egg prices are going up. The Jamaica Egg Farmers Association says the price increase on table eggs is due to the cost of inputs and the devaluation of the Jamaican dollar. Eggs will now be sold between $320 to $380, from which retailers will make their markup. Salada Foods Jamaica Limited has recorded an increase in net profits of $64 million during its second quarter. This represents an over 450% increase when compared to the $11.7 million achieved for the corresponding period last year. The company said that the performance was also driven by a 3% increase in revenues, totaling $579.3 million at the end of the period. The Supreme Court is to hear a claim by the Jamaica Stock Exchange on behalf of 24 publicly listed companies to hold their annual general meetings virtually. Companies have been lobbying for the adjustment since last year because of COVID restrictions on limited gatherings. On May 31, the court will hear the claim in which the JSC is seeking that for as long as Jamaica remains or is designated a disaster area, companies be permitted to hold meetings online.
The Business Minute.
And here's a preview of what's coming up in this evening's Health Report.
In the next edition of the Health Report, we'll look at exams and stress.
I'd just like to remind everybody that these are very difficult times for different people, and we experience stress and anxiety differently. So even in trying to encourage students and children to prepare for the exams, bear in mind that everybody learns differently, everybody studies differently, and remember as the adults in the conversation that even though we want them to do well, let them be the ones that kind of take control of the study plan, because there's a very thin line between encouragement and pressure.
That's the Health Report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's healthy living tip. Stick to a routine by eating and sleeping at around the same time each day. Give yourself mini rewards once you achieve your study goals. Watch a TV show or go for a run, and keep focused on your study.
To news in sports now. Despite the cancellation of meets like the Jamaica International Invitational and the Racers Grand Prix, Jamaican athletes will have the opportunity to earn prize money while competing locally at a series of meets which gets underway on Saturday. Jordan Fort reports.
The events, which have been dubbed the Destiny Series, has come about as a result of a partnership between the JOA and the J3As, which will see the Olympic Association contributing $7 million towards the venture. J3A's Honorary Secretary Ludlow Watts gives an idea of the overall prize money which will be on offer.
We are planning to stage 14 events, on each of the 3 weeks, May 22, May 29, and June 5. And the J3A will provide cash prizes totaling $2,104,000 in each week in these categories. So overall, the funding provided by J3 for prize money will be $6,312,000.
The disciplines have been split into 2 categories, Premier Events and Classic Events, which will offer prize money based on their classification and will see 1st to 6th place earning cash. Premier Events will offer a high of $100,000 for the winner to a low of $12,000 for 6th place, while Classic Events will see the winner pocketing $70,000 and 6th walking away with $10,000. But there are instances where an athlete can finish within the top 6 and still not get the cash award.
For example, if the performance standard is, say, 10.25 for the 100 meters, it means that everybody who gets the prize must fall within that band. So if the winner runs 10.25, he's the only one who will get the prize. And we have not stretched it to avoid paying. It's just that we want quality. We just want a meet for people just to run. We want quality of the event.
And as Watts explains, the event classification will be done on a rotation basis.
But for staging the events on May 29 and June 5, the 14 events will be reclassified and rotated in terms of premium, classic, and non-prize to guarantee equity in terms of competition preparation and benefits.
There will also be a 4th meet to be staged on June 19 as a qualifying event for Paralympic athletes, which will also serve as a last chance for Olympic hopefuls. Prize money will not be awarded to foreign nationals.
And that takes us across the finish line here on the Midday News. I'm Giovanni Dennis. Join us at 7 for Primetime News. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon.